What if I told you that Fantasia Barrino reached a moment in her life where everything changed? Not loudly, not publicly, but so quietly and suddenly that even the people closest to her were left standing in disbelief, trying to understand how a woman who had survived so much could be pushed into yet another season of transformation. At 41, the same woman who clawed her way out of pain, poverty, and a childhood filled with wounds stepped into a chapter nobody predicted, a phase of life so unexpected that it forced everyone to look at her story differently. Because her journey didn't begin with applause or television cameras or record deals, it started with scars she carried long before the world ever learned her name. Fantasia grew up in Greenville, North Carolina, where life felt heavy, responsibilities were stacked on her small shoulders, and hope seemed like something other people were allowed to have, but not her. Even as a little girl, she faced problems that should never fall on a child: money struggles, emotional battles, family pressure, and a constant sense that survival required strength she didn't even know she had. Yet, in the middle of all that darkness, something unexpected emerged: her voice. Singing wasn't some big dream at first. Music was survival, the one thing that kept her alive, the only place she felt seen, the only thing that made her believe she mattered. When she sang, she released the weight of everything she carried. Her voice was not just beautiful, it was powerful in a way that made strangers stop, turn, and listen, because it was filled with raw hurt, honest truth, and the kind of emotion you cannot fake. But life did not stop testing her. As a teenager, she broke down more times than she could count. People doubted her, circumstances crushed her, and even the dreams she held onto felt far away. She fell into heartbreak, disappointment, and lonely moments where she felt like she was fighting invisible battles by herself. And then destiny made an unexpected move. The opportunity that changed everything came when she stepped onto the American Idol stage, and here's the part people never understood. She didn't walk into that audition with confidence. She walked in with fear, insecurity, and the weight of her entire life pressing on her shoulders. But the moment she opened her mouth, something unforgettable happened. The judges felt it, the audience felt it, the world felt it. Her audition didn't sound perfect, it sounded real, filled with truth packed with years of pain she had learned to hide. Fantasia didn't sing to win a show, she sang to save herself. Every lyric, every breath, every trembling note carried the story of a girl who had been knocked down again and again, but refused to stay on the ground. Winning American Idol was the turning point people celebrated. But here's the shocking truth: while the world cheered for her victory, nobody saw the storms she still carried inside. The night she won, she smiled for cameras, but the years of hurt were still sitting behind her eyes. Nobody saw the nights she cried alone, the fear that success might not be enough to heal everything she had survived. The world saw a rising star, but she still felt like the same broken girl from Greenville who couldn't understand why life kept testing her. And that triumph was only the beginning. Fame came quickly. Pressure came even faster. Expectations from fans, interviews, performances, non-stop appearances, everything hit her at the same time. And while everyone imagined she was living a dream, she was quietly fighting battles no one knew how to help her with. Fame looks glamorous from far away, but up close it can feel like a trap. Fantasia tried to stay strong, tried to stay grateful, but her heart was tired. The spotlight that once felt like a blessing began to feel like a cage. She wanted air, she wanted peace, she wanted something real, but destiny still wasn't done shaping her story, and the next chapters were more intense, more emotional, and more shocking than anything she had faced before. As she stepped deeper into fame, every new milestone brought an emotional shift inside her. You won't believe how quickly the excitement of success turned into a heaviness she didn't know how to carry. She performed on the biggest stages, smiled for cameras, gave interviews that convinced the world she was thriving, but behind those bright lights, she was quietly unraveling. The pressure grew so intense that even breathing felt like a responsibility. Every move she made, every note she sang, every tiny mistake became a headline. The same voice that once saved her now felt trapped behind expectations she never asked for. Fame didn't come with peace. It came with noise, opinions, criticism, and constant demands. Even her closest relationships cracked under the weight of her career. Friends pulled away, family didn't always understand, and she often found herself feeling completely alone in rooms full of people. The craziest part? The world adored her talent, but almost no one cared about her heart. She cried silently, prayed quietly, and hid her exhaustion behind powerful performances built on empty strength. And that's when everything began to change again. But this time, not in front of cameras, not on a stage, but deep inside her soul. And this is where the story takes a breathtaking turn, because in the middle of all the chaos, the pressure, the confusion, and the silent breaking happening beneath her public image, something unexpected began calling Fantasia back to her roots, back to the music that was never just music, back to the sound that once kept her alive when the world felt unbearable. Gospel and worship songs started pulling her in again, tugging at parts of her soul she had ignored for years. But here is the shocking part. This spiritual shift did not sit well with everyone around her. In fact, some people in the industry criticized it as a terrible career move. Some fans complained she was abandoning the music they loved. Others whispered behind closed doors that she was losing her focus or drifting into irrelevance. But what made this chapter different was that Fantasia wasn't chasing applause anymore. She was chasing herself. She was reaching for the version of her soul that fame had buried beneath expectations, deadlines, and noise. She felt empty even at the top, lost even while winning awards, and slowly she realized that the applause she had fought so hard for could never heal the wound she had avoided for years. Let me tell you how everything shifted again. She started turning down opportunities that didn't match her spirit. She said no to events, projects, and people who drained her. That decision shocked everyone around her. Some couldn't believe she would walk away from chances that most artists would die for. But Fantasia wasn't focused on pleasing the world anymore. She was trying to survive. Then destiny stepped in once more when she returned to worship spaces, small, intimate rooms where there were no bright lights, no cameras, no screaming crowds, just her voice, her truth, and a God she had drifted away from. In those sacred moments, she felt something she hadn't felt in years: freedom. But here's where the story becomes even more twisting. Even as she rediscovered spiritual comfort, her emotional battles did not magically disappear. Fame did not suddenly become kinder. The stress behind closed doors did not dissolve. She still faced anxiety, breakdowns, and days where she questioned everything: her purpose, her journey, her faith. She felt the weight of her past and the confusion of her present pressing against her chest at the same time. And though she appeared stronger on stage, she felt fragile on the inside. But here's the shocking truth no one knew. The world thought she was finally stable, finally healed, finally at peace. But they had no idea that her biggest storm was just beginning. Even as Fantasia tried to rebuild her inner world, life continued testing her in ways she had never imagined. You won't believe how many battles she fought privately while the world only saw her smile. She came to understand that success, awards, applause, and recognition could not heal the emptiness that lived deep inside her. Every day became a mission to stay grounded. She prayed more than ever, reflected more than ever, and spent hours alone with her thoughts, trying to make sense of everything she had endured. And in those quiet moments came the most dramatic shift of all. She finally confronted truths she had avoided for years, past mistakes she pushed away, childhood scars she pretended didn't matter, heartbreaks she never processed. Facing these memories hurt more than any critic's words or industry rumor ever could. She made choices that stunned even her closest friends. She walked away from deals, partnerships, and offers that promised her fame and money because they didn't align with the life she wanted. She stopped saying yes to people who drained her. She finally chose herself in a world that demanded she choose everyone else instead. And what makes this story completely different is that she learned a powerful truth along the way. Authenticity costs everything, but sometimes it's the only way to survive. Her music transformed with her. Songs that were once pure entertainment became confessions, prayers, and testimonies. They became reflections of her soul. Fans noticed a new depth in her voice, raw, vulnerable, trembling with emotion. They felt her pain, her hope, her rebirth, her courage inside every note. But here's the part that shocked even her supporters. The industry did not welcome this transformation with open arms. Some questioned her relevance, some doubted whether she could stay successful. Some whispered about her behind her back, saying she had lost her edge. And while she was navigating all that noise, she was also wrestling with her own doubts. Could she keep going? Could she maintain her career and stay true to herself at the same time? Could she survive another storm without losing her faith? Destiny took yet another dramatic turn when she realized that faith was her anchor. Without it, everything she built, every performance, every award, every accomplishment would collapse. So she rebuilt herself slowly, painfully, intentionally, not for fame, not for the world, but for her own soul. She found clarity, purpose, and a new way to breathe that did not depend on applause or approval. But even during this transformation, challenges kept coming. She faced mental and emotional struggles strong enough to break anyone else. Anxiety pushed her to the edge. Stress threatened to swallow her whole. But the craziest part, the part people still don't understand, is that she refused to break. She stood tall, held onto her faith, and let her music carry her through the darkness. She realized vulnerability was not weakness, it was strength. She began sharing her story openly, showing fans the human behind the superstar. Every performance wasn't just a song anymore. It was a connection, a healing moment for both her and the audience, and that honesty in her voice reached people in ways fame never could. And this, right here, is where the twist deepens even more. The world still had no idea how deep Fantasia's transformation truly ran, how many choices she had remade from the inside out, or how violently the storm had shaken her before she emerged stronger, because even as she stood in a season of renewal, life had one more shocking revelation waiting for her. A turning point so personal, so defining, that it changed not only her career, but the way everyone viewed her journey from that moment forward. By the time Fantasia reached this stage in her life, she was nothing like the young woman who once trembled onto the American Idol stage. She had grown in ways the world could not imagine, reshaped not just as an artist but as a human being who had endured pain, loss, heartbreak, pressure, and spiritual battles that could have shattered anyone else. Yet somehow she rose taller than she ever had before, grounded in a sense of purpose far stronger than applause. What people saw was her return to music, but what they missed were the quiet battles fought behind closed doors. The nights she prayed until the sun rose, the silent tears she wiped away alone, the reflections she wrote down, the difficult decisions she made to protect her peace even when the world demanded more from her. Her life was no longer about fame or applause. It had shifted into something spiritual, something rooted, something infinitely more meaningful. And her music reflected that shift with a depth and vulnerability that could stop a room cold, every performance carrying the weight of her survival, her faith, her fight, and her healing. Fans felt it instantly. Some said listening to her was like a therapy session, like being lifted out of their own darkness through her voice. But here's the shocking part: not everyone understood or embraced this rebirth. Critics questioned her direction. Industry insiders doubted her relevance. Some whispered that she was making a mistake by honoring her spirit instead of chasing numbers. Yet Fantasia ignored all the noise because she had stopped living for approval and started living for truth, her truth. And then came the moment that shook the music world. She revealed a deeply personal truth, something so raw and honest that it made people see her in a completely different light, proof of just how far she had come. She spoke openly about her struggles, her faith, the boundaries she had finally learned to set, the sacrifices she had made to protect her mental health, and the spiritual awakening that guided her steps. What shocked people most was that she had not only survived all her storms, she had learned to turn them into the very foundation of her strength. Fantasia had become a role model not because of her achievements, but because of her courage, her transparency, and her fierce dedication to becoming the woman she was always meant to be. Audiences now saw a different Fantasia, a woman who had been bruised by life yet stood unbreakable, a woman who had faced everything thrown at her and still chose, every single day, to rise. Her story stopped being just entertainment. It became a lifeline for others, touching hearts far beyond the reaches of music, reminding people that healing is possible even after the deepest wounds. The woman who once struggled silently had become a beacon of hope, a symbol of perseverance, a living testimony that even when life twists in the most painful direction, faith and authenticity can guide you back to light. And what makes this next chapter so powerful is that her journey continues. She is no longer defined by a talent show, an album, or a hit single. She is a survivor, a spiritual warrior, an artist whose story has been shaped by tests most people will never see. She has taken every wound, every setback, every disappointment, and woven them into purpose. And for anyone watching her from afar, Fantasia's journey stands as a fearless reminder: no matter how hard life hits you, no matter how unexpected the detour, you can rise again, heal again, and transform every force that tried to break you into the very strength that carries you forward.